The sun barely peeks over the thatched roofs as Thomas wakes in a cramped wooden hut near the Thames. His belly growls. No fancy breakfast here, just a hunk of coarse brown bread and a mug of weak ale from the alewife next door. Wheat bread only for the rich. Most folks ate rye or barley loaves, heavy and gritty, baked in communal ovens where rats often nibbled the dough. The ale tastes sour but better than the river water, thick with human waste and animal runoff. Brewers boiled it, killing some germs, but flies buzzed everywhere. Thomas dips his bread in the ale to soften it, a common meal. It fills him up with calories for the day's hard labor, but hidden dangers lurk. Mold from damp storage or grains tainted by poor harvesting. One bad batch and stomach cramps hit hard. Modern guts used to clean food would rebel fast with diarrhea or worse. Thomas burps, wipes his mouth, and heads out, already feeling the city's grit under his bare feet. The adventure and risk has begun. By mid-morning, Thomas joins the crowds near the market. Street vendors hawk hot wafers, pancakes, and savory pies. The smells are irresistible, sizzling fat, spices like pepper, a luxury for flavor, and roasted meats. He buys a cheap mutton pasty, a handheld pie stuffed with whatever the cook had. Mystery meat was king in these fast food spots. No refrigeration meant yesterday's leftovers got reheated, often mixed with cheaper scraps or even spoiled bits to hide the rot. Cookshops along the Thames catered to laborers without home kitchens. Regulations tried to stop the worst offenders. Butchers selling rancid meat faced the pillory, but enforcement was spotty. Thomas wolfs it down while dodging carts and open drains full of filth. The crust is tough, the filling greasy and undercooked in spots. Unseen parasites like roundworms or whipworms, common from contaminated soil and waste used as fertilizer, could already be hitching a ride. Flies land on the pie between bites. For a modern person, this single meal could trigger food poisoning within hours. Vomiting? Fever and dehydration in London's summer heat. Work at the docks drains Thomas. He grabs another mug of ale safer than water, and it provides quick energy. But too much and it clouds the mind. At midday, he treats himself to salted herring from a fishwife. Fish was cheap and plentiful from the Thames, often preserved with salt or smoke for Lent or lean days. Sounds healthy? Not quite. The river was polluted, and poorly cured fish carried tapeworms or bacteria. Thomas eats quickly amid the noise of merchants and beggars. The streets are littered with animal dung and garbage. No hand-washing stations, just a quick wipe on his tunic. By now his stomach churns faintly. In 1180, dysentery and other fluxes spread easily in crowded, unsanitary conditions. A time traveler's immune system, unprepared for these bugs, would struggle badly. Thomas powers through, but weakness sets in as the sun climbs. Afternoon brings pottage, a thick vegetable stew bubbling in a big pot at a cookshop. Onions, cabbage, peas, barley, and scraps of meat or eel float in it. Left simmering for days, it was a staple that improved with whatever got tossed in. Cheap and filling, but perfect for bacteria if the pot wasn't cleaned properly. Thomas adds a second pie for energy. This one might have mystery filling, cat, dog, or diseased livestock passed off as mutton. Spoiled meat caused botulism-like symptoms or severe gut infections. Parasites were rampant. Studies of medieval remains show many carried worms from fecal contaminated food. As he eats, rats scurry nearby and open privies overflow into ditches. The smell is overwhelming. For you, modern gut flora would collapse, leading to explosive illness, malnutrition, and vulnerability to bigger diseases like plague-carrying fleas. As evening shadows lengthen, Thomas stumbles home belly bloated and aching. The day's junk food feast catches up. Cramps turn to violent sickness. No doctors with antibiotics, just herbal remedies or prayers that rarely work. Many didn't survive such days, especially outsiders. Dehydration, parasites, or infection could kill within days in this era of short life expectancies and constant epidemics. Thomas collapses, wishing for clean water and real food. You, with your sanitized modern body, wouldn't fare better, likely bedridden or worse after 24 hours. Medieval London's junk food wasn't just unhealthy. It was a daily survival test in a city where filth and hunger ruled. The lesson? Appreciate your fridge, clean kitchens, and safe streets. Like and subscribe for more wild history tales. What other era should we survive next? Word count: 9 stories narrated in an engaging cinematic style, perfect for YouTube voiceover with dramatic music swells during the gross parts and tense sound effects. It educates while keeping viewers hooked. Let me know if you want title variations, description tags, or thumbnail prompt. Dust settles over London as Thomas, still pushing through his growing nausea, joins friends at a busy stall near the bridge. The vendor roasts pigeons, sausages, and bits of pork over an open fire. The crackling fat and smoky aroma draw in weary workers. These quick meats were junk food favorites, cheap, hot, and portable. But the animals often came from overcrowded, dirty pens, fed scraps laced with waste. Thomas tears into a greasy sausage. No proper cooking thermometers here. Undercooked centers hide salmonella or worse. Flies swarm the stall, landing on the meat between customers. In 1180, butchers sometimes sold diseased carcasses cheaply after hiding the smell with spices. For a time traveler, this would accelerate the nightmare. Fever spikes and chills as your body fights invaders it's never encountered. Thomas laughs with his mates, ignoring the warning rumbles in his gut. The city lights up with torches, but danger hides in every bite. As night deepens, Thomas heads to a crowded alehouse for relief. Dimly lit by tallow candles, It buzzes with laughter and songs. More ale flows, barrels of it, weak but plentiful, brewed fresh to avoid spoilage. It was the safest drink, but heavy consumption brought hallucinations from bad batches or just raw intoxication. He downed several mugs alongside pickled eggs and cheese. The cheese, often made from unpasteurized milk, could carry bacteria. Shared cups and unwashed hands spread germs fast in these social hubs. Thomas feels dizzy, his earlier meals mixing badly. Modern viewers would shudder. Your liver and stomach, unused to this, would revolt with vomiting and severe dehydration. Rats scurry under tables as waste piles outside. The fun turns risky. One bad night could lead to weeks of illness or death in a world without clean hospitals. Lying on his straw pallet, Thomas tosses and turns. The day's junk food assault hits full force. Sharp stomach pains, diarrhea, and fever. Parasites like roundworms, thriving in the unsanitary conditions, could have taken hold from contaminated pies or pottage. Medieval Londoners lived with these constantly, but newcomers suffered terribly. No toilets, just a bucket or street corner. The air is thick with the stench from open drains in the Thames. Thomas recalls stories of neighbors dying from similar fluxes. For you in his place, severe food poisoning could lead to hospitalization today. Back then, it often meant the end. Weakness sets in. The simple meals of bread, ale, and pies have become poison in a city where clean food was a luxury few enjoyed. Morning light filters in, but Thomas can barely rise. His body is battered, dehydrated, racked with cramps, and possibly infected with multiple bugs from the polluted environment. Junk food in 1180 wasn't occasional. It was daily survival that slowly wore people down. Malnutrition mixed with parasites left many vulnerable to bigger killers like dysentery outbreaks or the constant threat of plague fleas. He drags himself for water, risky, or more ale. Wealthy folk might afford better spiced dishes or fresher game, but for commoners like Thomas, this was life. A time traveler would be begging for modern meds or a way home. Many didn't make it past their 30s due to repeated bouts. The day of medieval junk food reveals a brutal truth. What sustained the city also destroyed its weakest. As Thomas fades, the lesson hits hard. One day in 1180, London's food scene, tempting pies, endless ale, street snacks would overwhelm a modern person. No immunity to the parasites, bacteria, and filth. Poor sanitation turned every meal into a gamble, yet it built a resilient people. Today we enjoy safe fast food thanks to centuries of progress. This story reminds us to appreciate clean water, refrigeration, and hygiene. Imagine the strength of those who lived it daily. Full story word count, 1,650. Ideal for engaging YouTube narration with chapters. Start with a dramatic hook voiceover. Add eerie medieval music during illness parts. And end with a strong CTA YouTube optimization ideas. Titles. I tried medieval London's deadly junk food for one day. It almost killed me. Or why modern people would die eating 1180 London street food. 10 variations available on request. Let me know if you want the full compiled script, thumbnail prompt, description with timestamps, tags, or voiceover tips. Thomas drags himself back out the next morning, craving something fresh. Costermongers push barrows of apples, cherries, and peas through muddy lanes. Fruit seems safe, but in 1180 it was often bruised, washed in dirty water, or grown in soil fertilized with human waste. Worms and bacteria hid inside. He bites into a wormy apple. The crunch satisfies briefly, but the risks multiply. Modern stomachs would react with instant upset. Thomas trades a coin for peas in a pod. Cheap street energy. But the vendor's hands are filthy from the streets. The city's constant traffic kicks up dust and dung. Viewers, this is why one healthy snack could doom you. At the baker's stall, Thomas buys another loaf. Bakers were regulated, but shortcuts happened. Short waits, adulterated flour with chalk or worse, or loaves baked with contaminated grain. Coarse-breaded grit that damaged teeth and guts. He soaks it in ale again. By now, cumulative effects from days of poor food show. Rotting teeth, constant fatigue. A time traveler would face severe digestive shutdown. The baker wipes sweat with a dirty rag before handling dough. One bad loaf and foodborne illness explodes. Near the Thames, eel sellers shout their wares. Eels were a medieval staple, cheap, nutritious, but pulled from polluted waters full of sewage. Many carried parasites like fish tapeworms. Thomas slurps down a smoked eel. Slimy and salty, it masks the danger. For you, rapid onset of nausea and long-term weakness. The river, London's lifeline and toilet, made every catch a gamble. Boats dump waste nearby as he eats. The smell alone would send modern noses running. A traveling cook offers spiced pies with galangal and saffron traces for the ambitious poor. Spices hid rot, but they were expensive and often fake or contaminated themselves. Thomas indulges, dreaming of noble feasts. The heat masks the spoilage. His fever rises. In reality, these treats cause more harm. Your body expecting clean ingredients would crash harder. The illusion of flavor led many to their graves. As markets glow with lanterns, late-night stalls sell reheated scraps and blood puddings. Black pudding, blood, fat, onions, was filling but highly perishable. Thomas eats to fight hunger. Rats and dogs circle. Hygiene? Non-existent after. This is peak danger zone. Modern immune systems would surrender to the bacterial overload by now. Back home, Thomas shares leftover pottage with neighbors. The pot simmers for days, incorporating everyone's scraps. Communal eating spread illness fast in tight huts. Children cough nearby. Possible tuberculosis or worse. One shared meal and entire households fell. You wouldn't just get sick, you'd endanger everyone around you. Desperate, Thomas seeks a local healer for stomach evil. Herbs, prayers, and bloodletting were common but useless against parasites and bacteria. No understanding of germs, leeches, and foul potions worsen dehydration. A time traveler's pleas for antibiotics would be met with confusion. Survival odds plummet. Word spreads of others sick from the same cookshop. Dysentery outbreaks were common in crowded London. One person's junk food day sparked chains of infection. Thomas watches neighbors weaken. The city's density turned personal choices deadly. Modern contact tracing doesn't exist here. Chaos reigns. By the second dawn, Thomas lies helpless. Worms, poisoning, and exhaustion claim him. Life expectancy was low. Repeated food battles wore bodies down, no recovery without. This is the fate awaiting any modern visitor. Total system failure. From dawn bread to midnight eels, one day exposed the lethal trap. Filth, parasites, spoilage, and ignorance made survival a miracle. Yet London grew despite it, thanks to human resilience. You wouldn't last. Appreciate today's food safety. This full 20-section tale educates and thrills. Perfect for chapters in your video.